When we get into a situation like that, we can find ourselves getting into what I call a mental runaway. Kind of like a runaway truck. And let me explain to you what happens with runaway trucks. If you go out into the mountains here, up to Pennsylvania, some places down in Georgia, going into the Tennessee area, getting out into the Rocky Mountains, they have what are called runaway truck roads. All right, some of you have seen them. A runaway truck road is for a truck that loses control and has lost its brakes in addition, and what it does is it literally goes straight up a ramp to slow itself down. Well, every once in a while, I find we can go on mental runaways. And I had an experience with this not too long ago. I was doing a new job for a company, actually here in the Washington, D.C. area. And they gave me requirements for my job. I needed to get my securities licenses. And this was my response. Okay. I had no idea what a securities license was. I just said okay to just about anything because I had just spent the past 3 months laid off. So they wanted me to get a securities license. I was going to get a securities license. I'd have done pretty much anything. Well, I studied for this securities license to be able to sell mutual funds, and I took the test, and I failed. And I immediately went into one of those runaways. What do? I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job if I can't pass this test. What am I going to do? And I went to work, and I faced my boss. My boss was a retired lieutenant colonel. Anytime I got around him, my posture got a lot more erect. I didn't know the proper way to salute, but I wanted to. He scared the death out of me. But I went in, and I said to him, Al, I failed the test. What? You are enrolling in a class in Dallas, Texas, 2 weeks. Be there. Got it? Yes, sir. I flew down to this class in Dallas, Texas. It was the most intense week of studying I've ever had in my life. Fortunately, they gave us the test on Friday before I even left. So I was able to know right there, give myself all weekend to psych myself up for what news I was going to share with Al, the colonel. Well, I get to the testing center Friday morning, and the runaway kicks in. I've answered all the questions. There's only one button to push, the enter button to get the results. Come on, push the button. Push the button. What do I do if I push the button and I fail the test? If I fail the test, I'm going to lose my job. If I lose my job, I'm going to have to live out of my car because I'm not going to get thrown out of my apartment. If I have to live out of my car, I'm not going to live out of my car. They're going to repossess the car. I'm going to die in the streets of Washington, D.C. I finally got the nerve and hit the button. Pass, yes. Excuse me, sorry. I did disrupt a few other people in the testing center. I lived this terror in my life, in my head, and that's the only place it existed. It actually happened, but I went through the sweats as if I'd really gotten fired and I was going to end up homeless because of this situation. Well, I was pretty excited, pretty jazzed. I headed straight to the airport. I was like, I'm going to see if I can catch an earlier flight so I can go tell Al this afternoon. I want to let him know that I passed. I head to the airport. Typically, when I travel, I wear travel clothes, but I was too excited this time. Instead, I went straight to the airport in my suit. Now, at this point in time, I still wore skirt suits. There's a reason that I say at this point in time, I still wore skirt suits. I dropped off my rental car and I got into the shuttle bus and sat down, and once I got myself settled, I noticed that all the other travelers in the bus were men. I was the only female in the bus. Well, the bus gets to the terminal and they all waited for me to get off first, and I thought, well, this is pretty awesome. I went and grabbed my luggage, I went and grabbed my briefcase, and then I headed down the stairs and across to the terminal. I got about halfway across and a prairie wind came out of nowhere. That's where my skirt was. Now, let me just give you a sense of where I was at this point in life. I was young, I was fit, and remember, I used to work at Victoria's Secret. I knew what I was wearing, and so did the 20 men behind me. One man rushed up to me and said, ma'am, can I help you with your luggage? I looked up at him and said, no, my skirt is the problem, sir. I start getting towards the terminal, and my mind goes on another runaway. What do I do if I run into one of those guys in the airport? What do I do? I mean, how do I face them? Oh, no, that's not the worst case scenario. What if I run into him in my airplane? They're going to be those guys in suits in first class that normally don't react to people getting on board, but this time when I get on board, they're going to be have I got a story to tell about her. And then I thought, oh, no, that's not the worst case scenario. What if they're in my audience someday? I mean, they tell you when you speak in public to picture your audience in their underwear. Sidebar, have you ever wondered if we really do that? Don't. It's a scary thing. No. I don't want my audience picturing me in my underwear. And just like the thought of that freaked me out. And I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? This is just terrible. And I got to the terminal door, opened it up, and a rush of air conditioning came out and hit me in the face. And it was just like that slap I needed to shake myself out of it. Suddenly I realized, oh, what am I worried about? They are not going to recognize me. That's such an absurd thing. They're not going to recognize me. They weren't looking at my face. Mental runaways. Oh my goodness. How many of you find yourselves going on mental runaways every once in a while? I think it's something that all of us can find ourselves running into, and we have to catch ourselves, pull ourselves out of it, because that's what moves us into that thriver mentality, and also being able to laugh about whatever it is that is going through our minds.